After a bye week that probably felt far too short to head coach Jay Gruden, the Redskins will take the field again this Sunday at New England. The coach and team may have avoided the chopping block by winning at Tampa, but they have no space to relax as the second half of the season is full of tough bouts and divisional games. Will Washington surprise New England and log the second win of a 2012-style winning streak, or will they show the characteristic inconsistencies that have plagued the season so far? Don't go anywhere, we're going to talk about it on Hogstyle.
It's the Hogstyle.
And we're back. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Lots to talk about with this Patriots-Redskins matchup. I know we're all super excited to talk about that one. He said sarcastically. By the way, my name's Sean Conti. That's Robbie Duncan giving you the very topical and appropriate Star Wars Dark Side music.
No, that was the funeral march.
The funeral march.
He would do the Dark
or
Side
that
music.
Nice pull.
Yeah.
Good call. I got to brush up on my Star Wars, clearly. That's Alex Zeese correcting me on my Star Wars knowledge.
Yeah, I want to show you guys something, a little surprise, something I got in the mail today.
Ooh.
Little...
so official.
Hogseye business card for myself that I made on one of those websites that lets you do it, and they're not paying us for advertising, so I'm not going to say the name.
You got to tweet that.
We are big time now, folks. We have Hogseye.
You got to tweet that out.
Yep.
We got to show the world that.
I'll tweet that out after the show. Sure.
Alex has all the good stuff. He's got the Hogseye hoodies. He's got the.
We don't have. He hasn't done any of it for the rest of us, folks.
I'm not paying $60 for each of you guys to get a hoodie.
It's like Spaceballs. Spaceballs, the movie. Spaceballs, the
business cards. I'll spring for some business cards for you guys if you send me your home address. But
no, I'm not giving you my address. Are you insane? Anyways, Steve Thomas is here with us as well today. Sorry I didn't get to call you out there. I got sidetracked by Alex's sweet business card, Steve.
Hey, no problem. I am here for yet another episode. Congratulations to everyone for getting to listen to me.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue because, Steve, as I understand it, we have some news on the Washington Redskins trademark front. What's going on there?
Oh, everybody needs to relax. All that has happened is that the Redskins filed a brief with the appellate court.
Yep.
Basically, it's the Redskins' argument to be made to the appellate court. The other side, who is the plaintiffs on the underlying lawsuit, will respond, and then the Redskins might respond again, and then at some point in the next about 12 months or so, there will probably be oral arguments, and then at some point after that, it could be up to 2 years. If it really takes a long time, there will be a decision. So there's not much has happened.
Yep.
They made an argument, and very briefly, the argument is just basically there's a First Amendment issue here. You know, we have the right to call ourselves whatever we want. They have claimed that the governing laws that the trademark office is using are unconstitutionally vague. You know, they put a hilarious list of really vulgar names.
It was a great list. I really
I'm
enjoyed
not going to repeat them all.
No. We shouldn't repeat them all, even though this show is explicit. But there's some fun names on that list.
but the point is that their point is, your standards are vague if these names got approved, including a bunch of horribly racist names.
Yeah.
And ours didn't. So they've argued that. And they've argued a due process argument, which basically says, hey, government, you're not being fair about it. That's the argument. There's nothing to it. You're going to hear about some briefs later, and then at some point there will be an oral argument, and at some point we'll get a decision, and that's it. So nothing to see here. Move along.
Yeah.
The saga continues.
It's never going to end.
Yeah,
because it could go to the Supreme Court after this. So you're talking. It could be 4 years before this is resolved.
Something tells me they'd never agree to hear this case. They don't care.
No. Actually, you know what? There is a possibility they could hear it because if the Redskins win, what the Redskins is arguing is a constitutional argument, and if they win, the idea of a court saying, hey, Patent and Trademark Office, your standards are unconstitutionally vague, is an issue that the Supreme Court may have to address. So they could actually make some law here, believe it or not.
Did you guys...
I will say, the one thing I've read in the blog, or the bog, Steinberg's thing, about the new lawyer for the Redskins is that she's 32-1 in front of the Supreme Court or something like that.
Good record.
Yeah. I don't remember her name,
really?
but I saw that, and that stands out.
Well, there's a limited group of lawyers out there that basically do nothing but practice in front of the Supreme Court, and she's obviously probably one of those.
Yeah. She worked for RGB,
Interesting.
and now she argues in front of the court. So,
Well, did you guys see that Redskins also have Adidas moving against them now?
yeah.
Which is so funny,
Yeah.
considering Adidas' support of Washington athletes in the
Yeah,
past.
they had a
Well, yeah.
What
Okay, so
happened, Bobby?
Adidas
Tell
made their
us.
millions off of Robert Griffin and a lot of burgundy and cold-colored,
basically
T-shirts.
what's going on is Adidas says that the company is going to offer financial assistance to any high school team which wants to drop a Native American mascot from their school logo. The Redskins weren't very impressed with that. I can read their statement about it. Quote, the hypocrisy of changing names at the high school level of play and continuing to profit off of professional-like named teams is absurd, team spokesman Maury Lane said in a statement. Adidas makes hundreds of millions of dollars selling uniforms to teams like the Chicago Blackhawks and the Golden State Warriors while profiting off sales of fan apparel for the Cleveland Indians, Florida State Seminoles, Atlanta Braves, and many other like-named teams. Lane also suggested that Adidas' next targets would be those professional teams, but spokesman Michael Elrick said that the company wouldn't pressure the franchises to change.
Why is it necessary for the Redskins to say anything?
Yeah, they probably
Why is
don't
it their
need
job?
to.
Just shut up and don't say anything. Let Adidas do whatever Adidas is going to do, and that's it. It doesn't affect the Redskins. They're not selling Redskins apparel, whatever. I'm sure there's somebody besides Robert Griffin probably has a marketing agreement with Adidas. Who cares?
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't affect the team.
Let Adidas
I just think
keep
it makes
on
them look
making
dumb.
basketball jerseys with sleeves on them because those are so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, LeBron tearing them off the other day.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
It's like Hulk
Yeah,
Hogan.
I don't
Let's
know.
move on to a better lawsuit. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, well, we can certainly do that. The other news, obviously, being that Pierre Garçon of the beloved Burgundy and Gold is suing FanDuel. And this is interesting. FanDuel, obviously, is one of these fantasy football or weekly fantasy football sports betting sites that's gotten extremely popular over the last year or two. And I think the lawsuit's pretty much straightforward. It's just you can't use, he's saying you can't use player name and likenesses to profit off of them without giving them a cut. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the essence of it.
That's exactly it. You
Yeah.
know, the only wrinkle to it is that Pierre had a previous marketing arrangement with them wherein he was tweeting out FanDuel advertisements, and that has nothing to do whatsoever with FanDuel. What FanDuel's doing is they're using the name Pierre Garçon and many other players in their advertisements and so forth, and photographs and whatnot in their materials. And like you said, Sean, Pierre's point, and it's a class action suit, which means basically, all these other players can join.
Yeah.
And eventually they're going to settle it for some very large amount of money, probably. All he's saying is, you got to pay me. If you use my name and likes, you got to pay me. It's as simple as that.
Well,
it's not complicated.
That industry has blown up in the past couple of years. I remember seeing a story at the beginning of the season where I think it was 20 to 30 billion or something like that was what these sports betting sites
I don't know.
are
You know
planning
what?
on making this
Here's
year.
the thing. I think at some point they're going to be regulated.
They have,
because
yeah.
I don't see a legal distinction to me between the daily fantasy football sites and regular sports betting.
Right.
Regular sports betting, you can bet on, say, the Redskins to beat the Patriots. You can bet on the over and under in the game, and there's a bunch of parlays and all other things.
Sure.
I'm by no means an expert in it. I don't bet. But all you're doing in the weekly fan sites is betting on the performance of players, essentially.
Right.
So I don't see a legal distinction to it, and I don't see how at some point it's not going to be regulated either at the federal level or at the state level.
Well, it's got to be at the federal level at some point because it's
Yeah.
the internet. And I know, Steve, you're a conservative guy, and you probably don't like the federal government getting involved generally in things like this. But,
no.
I don't see how you can have this just be left up to states.
It makes it tougher because it's internet based,
Right.
and like how these internet, online poker sites get away with it is they're based offshore somewhere,
Right.
and it's sort of beyond the scope of what the federal government can deal with, and so theoretically, FanDuel could move to, Bermuda or somewhere,
Right.
And probably do the same thing, but the advertisements, the FCC could cut off the ads,
Right.
Which would affect their business.
Yeah, I had a distant acquaintance who early on in the internet era, they tried to make some money starting a internet gaming, basically internet poker site, and they were basing it in a state or a city that allowed online gambling. That's like where their headquarters were, and eventually they got raided. Basically, something like that. The feds shut them down.
Not
the Feds
surprising.
love their rates. Well, look, we should get on to the Patriots game, but I want to ask, I mean, even if it gets regulated, Steve, what about Garcon's point specifically that the players should receive a cut?
Well, he's absolutely right. It's like anything else, Sean. It's like if I'll make a name up. Let's not use a real name. Let's say a fast food restaurant uses Pierre Garcon's likeness in an advertisement.
All right.
They can't do that without paying him. Mm-hmm. The law says you have to compensate someone. You have to have their consent, rather, to use their name and likeness. And like, for example, if you go to a football game, if you read the back of the ticket like I do, because I'm a big nerd for reading,
right.
fine print, what it says is you consent to allow the NFL to use your likeness, any way they please.
Right. There's a contract back there.
It is in fact a contract, and so it's the same thing with FanDuel and Pierre. They can't use the name Pierre Garcon and or the likeness of Pierre Garcon in an advertisement without his consent, and the only way they're going to get his consent is through a marketing arrangement in which they pay him a lot of money.
But
and the same with all the other players.
So it sounds like it's the ads that are really at stake. It's not necessarily the core function of FanDuel that's at stake.
Well, that's his argument. Yeah,
Okay.
you're right.
Right.
And see, here's the thing, though, that everybody needs to remember. Player contracts have an automatic consent built in to the form wherein the players will allow the NFL to use their name and likeness for any marketing arrangements or media they want. But that's the NFL and the NFL broadcast partners and anybody the NFL sells this product to. That doesn't extend to FanDuel, which is just a third-party company.
Now,
So the NFL can throw Pierre Garcon's name and likeness on its website. They can allow Fox TV to use the name Pierre Garcon because he's already consented to all that, and he's getting compensated for it through his player contract.
Now,
Gotcha.
the one question I would have, or thought I have on it that just kind of popped in my head here. Let's say this lawsuit plays out and FanDuel does have to pay all the players some money. What does this mean for online gambling or fantasy sports when it comes to college sports?
Is there a big fantasy game for college stuff?
It's out there. It's not as big as the NFL, but it's out
That's
there.
insane.
Okay.
I wasn't aware that it even existed, but to answer your question, it's the same issue. It's just complicated by the fact that they're amateur athletes.
Right.
What cannot happen is, let's say like Robbie's buddy Hackenberg, the quarterback at Penn State, who's the greatest quarterback in the history of football.
It's the talent around him
He
that's
can't
hurting
go
him,
out
right?
and yeah, I'm
Right.
sure it is.
That's why he's
What
throwing for
Hackenberg
50%.
can't do, Hackenberg can't go out and sign a marketing agreement with, say, FanDuel,
Right.
because the NCAA rules prohibit him from becoming a professional in that way and getting a job.
Yeah, I get
So
that.
he can't do that. So it brings up a whole host of issues. I would suspect that the NCAA would work it out in such a way that they can make money, the players don't, and it goes on.
Yeah, and
Because the NCAA is pretty good at that.
for the record, I'm not actually saying FanDuel does college because I don't play FanDuel. I don't
don't know.
gamble on
Right.
fantasy sports. I'm
But
just
somebody
saying.
probably does.
Well, I know you can do fantasy for college sports. I got invited to a league doing it years ago, and I was like,
There'd be
I'm
like
not a
7
college-
billion players to pick from.
That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah. You're picking all these option running backs for
Yeah.
run,
That
and
is
you're
not-
picking all these spread quarterbacks. It'd be insane.
Yeah.
I don't like.
Well,
Robbie'd pick all the ODU guys.
yeah,
I don't like
seriously.
that.
Well, anyways, that's really interesting stuff. Crazy stuff going. As we've said in previous episodes, God, Washington is so litigious, and not surprised to see them embroiled in multiple lawsuits at the time being.
Hey, the FanDuel thing is going to result in a settlement.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen is all the other players, or most of them, are going to join, the class, and then there's going to be some settlement worth $100 million, and the players will get some amount of money, and the attorneys will get a third of it,
Right.
and they'll walk away super
I
rich.
think it'll be more
That's
than
what's
that
gonna
because
happen.
if FanDuel's as
I'm
big
just
as
pulling
they
a
were
number out of the top of my
projecting,
head.
they'll be getting a pretty sizable cut, I imagine.
Whatever the number
Yeah.
is, but just remember the class action attorneys will get at least a third of it.
Yep.
I wouldn't mind a very small slice of that pie myself, fellas. But anyways, moving on to the Patriots game, sticking with this gambling theme or motif for you gamblers out there, the Patriots are 14-point home favorites against Washington this week. And let's just talk. I mean, we obviously should talk about offense. We'll talk about defense. But let's just talk really quickly about where the Patriots are right now. Obviously, undefeated, 7-0. Todd, their first place in the division. I guess their closest competition would be the Jets, but they have the head-to-head tiebreaker against the Jets. So really, they are
And they
obvious.
have 3 games on the Jets.
Yeah, and 3 games up on the Jets. So obviously, they're in a good place right now. Probably the worst game that we could have possibly had coming off the bye week because they are number 1 in most of the power rankings, almost all of them, it seems.
Hey, no doubt about it. I mean, they're second in total points scored. They're 5th in passing yards. They're 3rd in passing yards per attempt. They're 6th in total yards. They're a juggernaut. There's just no doubt about it. Tom Brady is leading the NFL in quarterback rating this year in year 16 of his career.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable what they're doing.
Well, for me, since we're getting into our offense, their defense is just loaded with talent. I mean, they run all kinds of formations. When they're in a base 4-3, they got Rob Ninkovich and Chandler Jones at the end. Alan Branch, who's a big dude, 6'6", 350, and another guy, Selver Saliga, who's 6'2", 325. They got beef up front, and they got 2 great pass rushers there, not to mention 3 very talented linebackers in Jamie Collins, Gerard Mayo, Dante Hightower. I mean, that is a very tough front 7, and I really don't know what our offense's answer is going to be because, I mean...
You know what the Pats did? They got rid of Vince Wilfork. Everybody said they were crazy. And then he was the key to their offense or their defense. But like the Patriots always do, they get rid of their big names just as they're about to go downhill, and they do better without them. They're just geniuses about that. You know what stuck out about the Pats defense with me? They've got 26 sacks this year.
Wow.
Second in the NFL in sacks. 26 sacks. Chandler Jones, 8.5 sacks already.
Wow.
After week 7. Killing people.
And Robbie, you mentioned the guys up front there in the defense. The guys in the secondary of the defense aren't bad either. You've got Super Bowl hero Malcolm Butler, who's coming alive a lot, and you've got this guy, the safety,
Devin McCourty,
like Deron Ham or whatever. That's obviously another one.
Devin McCourty.
I wanted him bad,
but
offseason. He didn't hit the free agency though.
Yeah. They also have this guy, Deron Harmon, who's like the 3rd-rated safety in the NFL this year. So they've got
Patrick
a good,
Chung.
stout secondary as well.
I think it's worth saying that, the Pats defense has been a liability for them in years past. It's, they've won despite their defense. This year, I think the Redskins fan base out there is kind of underestimating the Pats defense because I've seen some chatter, their defense is kind of meh. Their defense is talented and their defense has stopped.
I forgot another name. They have a Jabal Sheard who comes off the bench who probably could start on other teams. He's just as good as some of these other guys, and he comes off the bench and rotates in for Chandler Jones. So they're very talented, and I personally think it's the best Pats defense they've had in a long time. I mean, they're
I think so, definitely.
All across the board, they're completely. They really don't have any weaknesses.
They've had some great defenses in
their
their dynasty,
without a doubt. But this one, I don't know. This one's different.
Not recently.
They just always go unnoticed.
Recently, their defenses have not been that good.
No. I mean, you have to go back to the 18-1 Pats to really say they were really great.
Well, so the question is,
Yes.
Mr. Duncan, what does the Redskins offense have to do to score a lot of points in this game?
What they have to do is not score a lot of points, is milk the clock for all it's worth, score on that drive. Hopefully you can get the Pats to go 3 and out, then you get the ball back, milk the clock again, run it out, just take as much time off the clock as you can, score again. That's really the key. I don't think it's going to be. You're not going to win a shootout against the Patriots. You just got to.
No.
I don't think the Patriots care if we milk the clock. Personally, they don't take of. Their average time of possession is only 20th in the NFL. They score points so fast that they don't really need a lot of possessions.
They can score at will if they want to.
This is what I see when it comes to our offense. Statistically, the only weakness this defense really has is rushing yards per attempt. They're 21st in the NFL. Every other statistic is in the upper half of the NFL. It appears as though now that's having been said, not a lot of teams are running a lot on them because they're always way behind in the score. But it seems like this may be the game because I do think your point is merit. Obviously, we want to have the ball more than not, right? And so it seems to me this is the game they really have to fix the running game, and so we can get some first downs via the run and exploit the one defect that they
Yep.
may have, because 26 sacks, and I don't think. Tell me, Robbie, are they running some kind of exotic blitzing scheme? How are they
don't
getting all
blitz
this
that
pressure?
much. I mean, I've seen a couple
what I
formations where they've had it's like two D linemen on the field, and it usually is like Rob Ninkovich and Chandler Jones on the inside. Dante Hightower, Jamie Collins are on the outside, and then you got Gerard Mayo and the other linebacker from there, and it's like a 2-4. It's a
Sounds a lot like what we did, basically.
it's a heavy linebacker loaded front where they just rush at you. They don't really blitz that much.
And now they're kind of overloading sides, right?
They do that
and so,
too.
They're overloading rushers. Yeah, and so what they're going to have is they'll have a linebacker free on one side who's the guy that gets the pressure. And Bill Belichick is a scheme genius. And so it seems very little I've seen, and you've watched more and you know more, Robbie, but it seems like that's kind of the key is their defensive scheme allows free rushers.
Are rarely in the same formation every play. Like they'll go from the 4-3 with Chandler Jones and Ninkovich and then Collins, Hightower, and Mayo in the back. And then they'll go to a 3-4, and then Chandler Jones and Ninkovich slide down to a 3-4 D end, and then Collins and Hightower are the outside linebackers. It's very they make mismatches. You got Chandler Jones now lined up across of a guard. He's lighter than the guard, but he's a lot quicker. So if the guard's not playing fast and moving his feet, he's going to give up a sack or a tackle for a loss or something. They make mismatches.
Well, what that tells me kind of is if we find they're in a formation we can make plays against, it's almost the opposite of what you've been saying. We need to run the hurry up. We need to make it so they can't shift out of change personnel.
We're not going to win like that. I'm telling you, we're not going to win like that.
Well, we're not going to
know
win
how
no
to
matter
play
what.
like that.
So,
Well, I mean, but to design a winning game plan, the winning game plan is to not go toe-to-toe with a hurry-up offense with these guys. The winning formula, I think, is to establish a run game. If that's the one thing they have had trouble stopping, let's exploit that.
Maybe,
And if there's a way to get Alfred Morris and/or Matt Jones and/or Chris Thompson consistently running the ball, and we can gain positive yards that way, let's do that.
well, I'm simply saying if they're the type of team that keeps on changing up formations to try and keep you off balance, one way to kind of get the team settled or score points when we need to score points is going to be to make them keep the same guys on the field.
Yeah, and
I mean, certainly.
And one thing I definitely think they should do is not be afraid to run the play action, even if running game's not working. I mean, they still ran it against the Bucs when our running game wasn't working, and it still opened up passing lanes for us. Yeah, I don't think you should have to worry about the running game's not working, now we can't run play action. It's just you got to pick your times to do it. If it's first down, run a play action. Most of the time they expect us to run the ball, that kind of thing.
Well, let's hope that Jay, whatever happened to Jay during Tampa week that caused him to actually do something moderately creative for once in his life. Let's hope he continues along that theme, because the Tampa game was the first time we ever saw him run significant amount of play action, and some other types of plays that we haven't done.
The
so
read option,
let's hope he keeps doing
more
it.
downfield passing.
To him, that was all a desperate last attempts at keeping his job, and he's lucky that it worked.
Probably so. Against a team that played awful, but let's not relive that. We won, let's move on.
Well,
Sorry.
let's chat too about the potential injuries that we've got coming back this week. Could it be so? Could this be the first Djax sighting since week 1, guys?
Definitely.
I think so. He's listed as a limited participant in practice as of Thursday, but it seems like he did a lot of the drills. I think he did the 11-on-11, I believe. So I think we're going to get Jackson back. It looks to me like, following the injury list all week here, that Corey Lichtensteiger is not going to be back. So that's bad. Probably D'Angelo Hall will not be back. Chris Culver probably will be back.
Which is great.
The guy I'm worried about is Keenan Robinson, because Keenan Robinson was a limited participant on Wednesday, and Thursday he didn't practice at all. He's got a rib abdomen problem. I don't know what that's about, if you guys have heard anything about it. But the fact that he was downgraded to not practicing.
Gruden was saying it was like a wear and tear type thing that he got during practice this week. It wasn't anything during the game or whatever.
No biggie.
I don't know.
Nobody plays harder than Keenan.
We're going to need him
No.
big time because he's really the only guy that we can really put on Gronk. I mean, you can put a corner on him.
Let's talk about Gronk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was going to say,
talk
let's
about
talk about
Gronk.
that Patriots
Okay.
offense. That's where the real story
Well,
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
You want to talk about with the Patriots offense? Ugh.
Here's what I
Alex will just
again.
as soon skip it.
I went through the stats and everything, and I won't read you a bunch of stats because we kind of already went over it.
Yeah.
But the core of their offense, they've got really four guys.
Mm-hmm.
They've got Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola, Rob Gronkowski, Deion Lewis.
Yeah.
Those four guys are catching all the balls.
Right.
Deion
Gronk
Lewis
Gronk is averaging an insane 16.2 yards per catch, which is just crazy for a tight end. Edelman's got 52 receptions. Deion Lewis, I think, had maybe 32 receptions. Amendola's got like 26. Edelman's got, I already said 52.
Right.
And I'm missing somebody in there. But those four guys, that's a lot of guys to have a lot of catches.
Yep.
Well, it doesn't surprise me that it's going to four guys because I've always felt like what the Pats have done forever is they find their best five weapons and they just put them out there with Tom Brady, and that's that. And year in, year out, if they lose somebody, they replace them. It doesn't matter if it's a free agent or if they just bring a guy up. It's going to be their best 4 or 5 weapons are going to be out there
And they find
nonstop.
creative ways to get
So-
them the ball. It's not the normal
Yeah.
facets.
Well, they find where your weak point is, and then they just start attacking it with,
Right.
in different ways. That's what they do.
Yeah.
That's why Gronk does so well, because in tight end, such a great mismatch for so many players.
Yeah, I mean, he's just a tough player. It's impossible
Yeah.
to guard
Oh,
him.
yeah.
But, God, what was I going to say? The weird thing about the Patriots that I feel like, and I know that we were saying earlier that they tend to score fast, and they do sometimes. But you know what's weird about them when you watch them is, in terms of the kind of passes they make, especially, it's usually short to mid-range stuff. It's not altogether that
It's
different
very much like
than
ours.
the kind of passes. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I didn't want to say that because I was afraid you guys would
No.
laugh at me. But
No.
now that Robbie's
No, I would
agreed,
like
I
to-
feel more confident.
No,
It's
I would
the
like to
same.
quote myself. I would like to quote myself from our last episode when I said something to the effect of, "If Jay Gruden had his druthers, he would be running the Patriots offense."
And I think that's exactly
You know,
what he's
I
doing.
think
that's
you're
what I
right.
said last week.
That's-
Yeah,
It's a pro spread thing sometimes,
Well, they run that
No.
they run that
But
jumbo
here's the-
double tight end set that we run all the time.
Yeah.
I put
That's
a,
true. They
I
do
put
run
a
that
picture out
too.
on Twitter. It's the exact spitting image of what we run. It's crazy. They just are so much more efficient.
here's what worries me.
well,
Right.
they have
I
the
think if
best
you wanna
quarterback
give-
in probably in NFL
Right.
history
This
running
is
it.
true,
Well,
too.
he's never going to be called the best quarterback in my eyes when he's a cheater.
Well,
you know?
okay, fair
I'll-
enough.
I'll call him it.
Ball fan.
Yeah, I mean, he's up there for me too. Just him specifically, I believe he's averaging something like 300 and some yards a game, and he's on pace to beat Peyton Manning's single season yardage record. So he's
Really?
on
You want to know
fire.
what it is?
Do it.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what it is. Give me 1 second here. It is. He's averaging yards per game. He's got 2,410 yards already in week 7. After 7 games, and so you parlay that out, he's added about 5,000 yards
Yep.
basically for the
Yowza.
season. So yeah, it's a crazy amount of yards. His rating is 115.8. He's completing 68.9% of his passes, 20 touchdowns, 1 interception, which is just insane.
ridiculous.
Yards per game. You ready for this?
Yep, this is what it was.
Take a guess. I love this. What do you, Sean? You already said what? 300 yards. What do you?
300
guys
I
think,
think it's
I'm
Alex?
over
gonna go
300.
340.
Oh, that's
There you,
fuck
stop right there.
That's-
Nope, stop right there. 344.3.
That's what I knew.
I was
it
pretty
something
close.
like that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's just
yeah.
insane.
I mean, I'll give you credit for that one, Alex. That's crazy.
And that's without LaFell, who I guess is their closest thing to like a deep
I think he's
threat
back now,
receiver,
by the way.
and that
No,
he's
Rob
back.
Gronkowski is their deep threat.
Yeah.
Right. Which is just so, I mean,
But-
it's just so crazy. Other than that, it's just
Here's
Edelman
what
for short
scares me.
stuff.
Well, here's what scares me about him, though, because I think Bill Belichick is really good at figuring out your weakness.
Yeah.
What's our defensive weakness? Quick.
Linebackers.
Anybody?
Secondary.
Well, no. What are we having trouble stopping?
Oh yeah,
most?
yeah. It's
The run.
Or
The
a
run
run.
game.
It's
Right?
the run, and then it's the
LeGarrette
tight
did-
end.
LeGarrette Blunt is averaging 4.6 yards per carry, and then Deion Lewis is averaging 4.9 yards per carry.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if Bill Belichick this week picks up on the fact that we have not stopped any running back for weeks, and all of a sudden we see LeGarrette Blunt starting to get more
Yeah.
carries.
I mean, he's just like Chris
Yeah,
Ivory for the Jets. So, I mean, they were not they're not
Exactly
much
right.
different.
No.
Ivory may be a little bit
Exactly.
faster,
Bill-
but that's it.
I mean, I agree with you. I actually kind of was thinking that earlier, that as good as their passing game is, I expect them to put like 150 to 200 yards on the ground against us. Because
because Belichick that's the kind of thing he would do.
Yeah, because he would say, these guys suck against the run, so let's run it.
They're going to...
I mean, people were pointing at the Jets game and saying, well, he only ran 8 times or whatever, and it's like, but it's the Jets.
And then they're going to...
It's a different team.
Why would you run a lot against the Jets?
And then they're going to suck us in and hit us hard with the play action to Rob Gronkowski. And that's what I pointed out out too on Twitter. You know, you get sucked in just a little bit, and all Brady has to do is put it right on the money like he always does, and Gronk's going to make you pay. I mean, even if you get a tackle on him, it's already like a 30-yard gain by the time you get to him. He's usually that wide open.
Well, yeah, he's 6'7". I mean, don't we pretty much have to spy and bracket Gronk? I mean, isn't that what we have to do to this
I would
guy?
just put Keenan right on top of him. I mean...
But you got to bracket him, though. You got to bracket him with the safety.
Well, of course.
I just don't think even Keenan's going to be able to cover.
No, it's got to be like Keenan with goal safety over top for support. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
You obviously have to watch out for him. I think the other key for this defense, our defense specifically, is going to be getting some pressure on Brady. Now, the interesting thing is this does not make sense when you look at their statistics and their numbers. But the most depleted unit on the Patriots is their offensive line. True. Brian Sorka, whoever their center, is out, and they've got this undrafted free agent guy. I'm forgetting his name completely, but he's the guy playing center right now. He's playing like lights out somehow. But their left tackle, I think, is out too. So if there's any time, and Brady, I believe the number is he's got the shortest time in pocket of any quarterback this year. So he's clearly feeling pressure at times. If we can capitalize on that.
He's been sacked 18 times.
See, there you go. See, I didn't even know he'd been sacked that many times. So, I mean, I think that's the key is obviously watching out for these matchups in the backfield like Gronk, but also you've got to hit Brady. You've got to hit Brady and remind him that you're there.
Speaking of that.
You know what I noticed about Tom Brady recently is if you watch when he gets sacked, that dude collapses like a rag doll.
He's not great under pressure in his face. He's not.
No. That's not what I mean. When he's about to get sacked, he just goes down.
Yeah.
He saves himself from getting the hit. He's smart enough when he sees it coming. He does not stand in there. He just goes up in a little ball and falls. And he's saving himself.
He accepts it and then just plays the next play.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
You'd think he'd
Sorry, I interrupted somebody.
No,
Sorry, I
it's
can't
all right.
remember who I talked over. I think it was you, Robbie.
It's all right.
Sorry about that.
Speaking of their offensive line, I think their weakest spot on there is their right tackle. They bumped Sebastian Vollmer over to left tackle when Nate Solder went out. And now they have second-year guy Cameron Fleming. You guys may remember him. He was one we talked about a lot before we started this podcast.
Yeah.
I saw him on film. He's not very good against a bull rush, and Kerrigan likes to bull rush. I would attack him with everything I got. That would be.
Can we depend on Kerrigan to get the job done?
I hope so. I mean, if this is if there's a game for him to finally kind of shut us up about our criticism, then that would be the one.
Probably this one. Yeah.
What would you think about maybe in this game in particular, since the only way you can really have a shot against the Patriots is by going after Brady, just overloading that side, put Kerrigan over there, put Murphy over there, and just tell them to rush the
I want them to
quarterback every
set
time.
Preston Smith loose on him, to be perfectly honest.
Okay, let's say you put Smith over there and Murphy's on the other side, and Smith and Kerrigan both go from the right.
Yeah.
Something like that.
You can't blitz too much, though, against the Patriots. You have to get pressure with the front three because Tom Brady is too good. If you blitz him too much, front four, he's going to pick you apart with the gaps in the defense that are left by the blitzer.
I'm just saying, Steve, no one's figured out a way to beat him, so you got to get creative.
And see, the thing is, too, to really think about, I mean, you can stop one thing, but how are you going to stop the other? Like, if we stop Gronk and we keep Gronk from hurting us, we're getting hurt somewhere else. We're getting hurt in the run game.
We'll get hit by
Amendola or Julian Edelman. Julian Edelman, by the way, is one of the most underrated receivers in the game. I think he makes some hell of a tough catches, and he's great after catching the ball and getting yards. I mean, that dude's tough. I respect his game.
Wish
he could be on our team.
He's another one because Yeah, I mean, everybody laughed at the Patriots and they let Wes Welker go in favor of Edelman, and all of a sudden Edelman's better than Wes Welker, ever was at the end of his.
It's just like you said, Steve, is they have this ability to dump their aging talent and pick up somebody to do the exact same job.
I mean, it made perfect sense
It
to
helps
dump
when you
Wes
have a
Welker
great-
at the time, too.
Yeah.
It helps when you have an all-time great
Oh, of
quarterback.
course.
Yeah.
Back there,
Of course.
obviously.
Yeah, indeed it does. And by the way, speaking of quarterbacks, just as a quick tangent, can you imagine if Brady's suspension hadn't been overturned and Garoppolo had played these first 4 games? What would the Patriots' record be right now? This would be a totally different team.
What
he
are
really
they at right
the
now?
offense goes with
7-0?
him. Yeah, they're 7-0 now.
Yeah, 7.
So I'd say 5-2.
Yeah, at least.
And
Well, they had a
still
couple close
steamrolling
games.
people.
They played who the Colts played them close, right? And then the Jets
I think
played
so.
them close.
Yeah.
They would have lost those 2 games for sure. They steamrolled like Miami, they steamrolled teams that beat us, by the way.
Yeah.
The Jets were their
Like Miami.
last game before the bye, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
wasn't Brady
Yeah.
anyway.
So actually, I didn't even think about that. The Redskins and the Patriots are both coming off of fourth quarter come from behind victories.
And,
Yep.
and they're
And bye
also
week.
I was about to say they're also coming off a miniature bye week. It's not like we have a big
A miniature bye.
They
Yeah.
played that Thursday
Yeah.
night
Not an official
game,
bye.
and it's not like we're really having that big of an advantage, at least in prep time. I mean,
Yeah.
because you give Bill Belichick a couple more days just from the Thursday night game, and he's gonna find something from there. There's no real advantage from us on our side, I don't think, in that regard.
No. Nope.
Yeah, not that,
No,
not that I
certainly
can
not.
identify.
I mean, Bill Belichick is. I mean, he's an all-time great coach, and Jay is Jay. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we could give our coaching staff a month, and they're not going to outcoach Bill Belichick. Players have to execute. They need to be mistake-free
Yep.
football. They need to get pressure without a ton of blitzes.
Mm-hmm.
We need a running game.
Yep.
We have to have a running game, and we need to have good Kirk as opposed to normal Kirk show up.
Right.
We need last
and-
week's Kirk.
and a guy who's going to be able to complete passes, get first downs, keep the ball.
Steve, everything you said is 100% correct, and if we did all that, we still probably
We
won't
still
win
might
this
lose.
game.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
too.
the odds are
It's gonna
stacked
take a
against us
miracle.
for
Yeah.
sure. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
It
Tom
will.
Brady might get hit by lightning, and then we have a shot.
Yeah.
Like,
Food poisoning.
that's kind of where we're
Maybe.
at.
Yeah.
Didn't they go 10-6 the year Tom Brady was out
Yeah, yeah.
with the knee injury?
Oh,
I mean,
I'm
it's just
sure.
crazy. I mean, we would die for a 10-6 season in here in Washington. And,
God,
and
yeah.
these jerks do it without their starting quarterback. You
Yeah.
know? Oh, it's so frustrating.
That's like their worst year in recent memory. or something.
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
and that's our best year in 20 years. You know? Think about that, folks.
Well,
How
on a
long-
positive side, the Redskins actually hold the total series record against the Patriots historically, if that's
Yeah.
some consolation.
The Patriots
It's
had
not,
some
but-
really bad teams, like in the
They
have.
70s and 80s.
The Patriots
Yeah.
Patriots used to
And-
be
and-
jokes.
Yeah.
They were the jokes of
Well,
the NFL.
and
for a while.
actually, the last game we played him, I for some reason I have no recollection of this game, but it was a close game. It was 34-27 back in
Yeah.
December of 2011.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that game?
Well,
really.
I think most
Vaguely.
of us are still not over the thrashing Gibbs took, the 52-7 loss
Yeah.
in their
was
undefeated
bad.
year.
And that touchdown
Yeah,
by us
that was really bad.
like in garbage time, right at the end too.
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I
we pretty
stopped
much got
watching.
shut
I don't
out.
even remember
I
who
don't count
scored
that
it.
touchdown.
Yeah. Yeah, that was bad. So most of us remember that one. We don't remember the one after that in the Shanahan era or whatever.
I
it was.
just totally blocked it out. I
Yeah.
really have zero recollection of that game at all.
You know, actually, as I shake the cobwebs from my mind, I think I might have been at that game.
He
That
blocked it
Patriots
out.
game.
You
Yeah.
still don't remember it.
Trying to call up
Nice.
this memory, and it's very
Nice.
repressed in the recesses of my mind. But it's there. I think I was
All
there.
right.
For what
Bury
it's
it
worth.
deeper.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, we already brought up those scores. Why don't we just go into that part of the show? We're
into
almost
our
at 40
predictions?
Let's
minutes.
do it.
What, go
All
into the last time the Redskins beat the Patriots in like 2003
No,
or
no,
something?
predictions, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
that's what I'm
predictions?
talking about. Predictions.
Okay, let's do predictions. Are you guys... Don't make me go first again.
I'll go first.
I'll go
There you
for
go.
Okay, Alex, you go first.
Okay, I'm more predicting this to set myself up for the worst case and for whatever I'm going to need to do to get over this. I think we're getting our asses handed to us 84 to like 10.
Jesus.
Something ridiculous like
84.
84.
84.
He said it,
I think-
ladies
That's like
and
a
gentlemen. Write it down.
Globetrotters Washington Generals. That's a Globetrotters Washington Generals
Well,
score.
I really feel like that's the kind of game we're walking into right now. I don't see how we keep this one even close.
Yeah.
Okay, let's save Robbie for last because, as I always say, we're just a bunch of yahoos, and Robbie actually has some form of expertise on this.
I like to think so.
Hey, at least you played at a college level. Okay, obviously the conventional wisdom is that we're going to get blown out here, right? That we have zero chance, and I don't really think we do have a lot of chance, but I'm going to predict, just to be different, that we're going to actually not look like complete fools. I think the Patriots are going to score a lot of points, so I think it'll be something like 34-20. I'll give us a little bit of credit. I don't think it won't be a game we're in at all ever, but I think we're going to score a few points at some point and make it look like it was close, and I think we won't humiliate ourselves. How about that?
Hey,
Yeah.
not humiliating
That's as
ourselves.
positive as I can.
That's
That's as
impressive.
positive as I can get.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I was actually pretty close to you in score predictions. I was going to go for 38-21 or something like that. God, what is that? Like
Okay.
5 touchdowns and a field goal for them. I think that
Yeah.
sounds believable. And I think that we
Sure.
get some garbage time points to make the score look a little closer than it really is. So that's my prediction. It's real close to you, Steve. I'm going to go with 38-21.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the story is going to be everything that we said. It's going to be inability to stop Tom Brady through the air, and it can't get much going until too little too late at the end of the game.
Sure.
Man, I think it's going to be a complete shit show. I think it's going to be Patriots on top, 42, and we're going to score like 17.
We're all close. We're all in the
It's going to
ballpark.
be Deion Lewis Day. I think he's going to.
Yeah,
I have a feeling
think
he's
so.
going to be
I
all
agree.
over the place. And then, of course, Gronk is going to get his. So I'm going to say 2 touchdowns for Deion Lewis, 1 for Gronk, and Brady's going to throw like 300-some yards.
I think the line of 14, I think, is the biggest line of the year in the NFL, I think.
Yeah.
I'm reasonably confident I read that today.
And I'd
Yeah.
I'd much rather eat crow. If we happen to win this somehow, I'd much rather say I'm glad I was wrong.
Make most of our season. Yeah, I think it would make most of our season if we won this game. But
Oh, yeah.
Like I
get your
said,
hopes up,
I'm
folks.
predicting us getting blown out royally just so I don't drink myself into a coma. So
Because we need you on the podcast. So
Yeah,
please
no
don't
one else
do
can
that.
edit
At
this
least if you're
damn
going to
thing.
drink yourself into a coma, do it some later. It's the old adage, of any given Sunday applies here.
sure.
Because you never know what may happen. We may have the greatest game that the Redskins have played in forever, and Tom Brady may just have an off
Or gets
day.
hurt.
You never know in the NFL, or gets hurt. There's always a puncher's chance at these things, but I think in this case, honestly, what we've all told you is it's just a puncher's chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, but you're right. Maybe he'll end up looking like Aaron Rodgers looked this past week. My goodness. I think they got like 80 yards through the air for the whole game or something. God, it was terrible to watch.
you got to that Denver Broncos defense is one of the best defenses I've
Serious
seen in
business.
a long time.
Yeah.
They are incredible.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're the reason Denver's good.
Are they
Yes.
that good,
Yeah.
Robbie? I keep hearing that good.
their secondary is ridiculous. I
Playing
mean,
lights out.
the fact that his talented receivers that Aaron Rodgers has to throw to can't get separation for him to throw it to them.
Yeah.
I mean, that speaks.
They-
I mean, that's unbelievable to me. Because Aaron
I
Rodgers.
mean, Rodgers
well,
doesn't
what a-
usually look frustrated. He looked literally frustrated. In
he's
that
never
game.
had a game like that.
There have been
Well, I'm just curious.
reports that the only reason Denver won half their games are just because
It's
of their
exactly
defense.
because of their defense. Because Peyton Manning has not been helping him. He's being
No,
carried by
he's
this
done.
Been
defense.
terrible.
I mean, he's had his
He had a really
Manning is
low.
he's had his
done.
ups and downs, but
Yeah.
mostly downs, and that defense is carrying
Yeah.
them to the playoffs.
It's welcome to the Patriots Hour, folks. I'm just curious if Jay Gruden were here, what he thinks is going to happen in this game. Is Jay here?
Yeah, I'm here.
What do you think's good? What is your prediction for the game,
I
Jay?
don't want to go. Don't make me, please. Can
Hey, what if a certain little man in a suit says you have to go, Jay? What are you going to do?
say, can you slip me some alcohol? I'll go to the game drunk. I'll call.
Yeah,
By the
Jay,
way, would anyone actually blame the coaching staff if they were drunk going into this?
I'm convinced they are drunk, and that's what we're witnessing on the field. Jay, how much do you regret
That may be
leaving
true.
your undefeated Cincinnati Bengals this year, number 2 in the power
Well, I
rankings?
always wanted to be a head coach. It just happened to be with the Redskins. I'm glad I didn't choose Tennessee because I would have been on the streets already.
Yeah.
That's true.
Hey, you're not
Unlike
far off
this
from that,
team,
my
when it's going to be, you're going to have like 3 or 4
Well,
more weeks here.
I'll
so.
take the
Yeah.
paycheck.
Yeah, I bet you will.
Yeah.
All right, well, on that note, we will end for the day, but we are excited to come back and meet up with you after the game to give you our take on what happened.
Yep.
But, God, if you didn't know, if you're under some kind of rock, the guys interviewed Ty Enseki, left tackle for the Redskins this previous week, and you need to listen to that if you haven't
Great guy.
already. Really cool stuff. Had a Redskin on the show. So what are you doing? Close this
Boo.
box and open that one right now.
Oh, and tweet at him. Does anyone know his Twitter?
I haven't
offhand?
seen him on Twitter.
He doesn't have a Twitter. He doesn't have a Twitter.
God damn it!
No.
All right.
Wow.
So someone send him a telegraph and say how much you liked him on our show.
Dear Ty, stop.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you. Stop for joining us. Stop on the Hogsty. Stop.
I found your interview on the Hogsty very nifty.
Here's your singing telegram.
All right, I think
He
we're
regrets
We've
coming
lost
on the
our
show
marbles.
after that. Yeah. All right, well, we'll cut it off there, but thanks for listening, and we will see you next time right here on the Hogsty. Take care.